And we're back, and you are listening to Villaincast, BJJ Anti-Heroes, with myself, Chris, the Villain Pains, and Naqi, El Jefe Arshed. And welcome to Reap the Week. But first, a quick thank you to our members at In Theory, BJJ, Concept Driven Jiujitsu, for fight commentary, technique and concept videos, private coaching, monthly webinars and Q&A sessions. Please visit www.patreon.com/intheorybjj. Hey, Nak. How you feeling?
Hola, I'm okay. How are you?
I sound way better than you do. Oh my God. How have you been?
I've been good. How you been?
I'm good. I'm chilled. Nicely chilled. Getting ready for a busy few days, man.
Yeah, Whoopass coming.
Whoopass coming up. You're out at Whoopass and you're out at Switzerland, aren't you?
Yep.
Man, I'm so happy.
You're America, yeah?
I'm in America, back at Fanatics, yeah. I'm at the Globetrotters camp and I'm visiting Fanatics.
Nice.
So I'm excited to go and call in. It's been a year. It's been a year since the last one, and they've done so well. They welcome me back for a fourth time. I finally went climbing this evening. It's been nice. I've had a few niggling injuries recently. I had a slight, I think, fracture to my scaphoid on my wrist, and then I've thoroughly busted some toes. I only noticed earlier, like, part of it's sticking out in a weird way. And I'm like, oh, that's why it's been hurting and still hurts. But finally got back on the climbing wall, so I'm feeling, arms feeling pumped. I'm feeling weak as hell. Man, jiu-jitsu is bad for you. I was actually, I mention it because there's a question on this, ish. But there are a lot of questions in the mailbag today. A lot of questions, man. So are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Man, I love getting these questions in because, you know, we could sit here all night just talking rubbish, and we do anyway, but people actually give us some decent things to talk about. So, first question. Tips on organising a successful seminar.
Ooh, this is more your area at the moment, isn't it? I haven't done many seminars.
I guess it's, I don't know, because I guess it depends on which angle. Is it booking someone for a seminar? I mean, we've booked many people over the years. Big names as well. We've had Fionn Davis in the gym, Lachlan Giles in the gym. We've punched quite a lot above our weight in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to think. As you were saying, we've got Lachlan Giles, we had Fionn Davies, we had
Ollie Geddes.
Ollie Geddes, yeah, that one. I was just thinking of him.
Dan Strauss.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a fair few names for the gym over the years.
Yeah.
But it's. I mean, we did try and get Danaher around about 2017. That one didn't happen, but we tried. And I guess it's like a peep behind the curtain right now. So whenever it comes to booking seminars, it goes one of two ways. Either the person booking the seminar will just say, right, flat rate, charge 20, 30, 40 pounds, whatever, a head. And that's fine. Like, you know, then I'll try and get as many people as I can in for that person, and let's hope for the best. And like, the more people come in, the happier they'll be. The other way is that I get given a flat rate. Like, I get told, right, I want. I mean, some of the seminars we've done, like, some have been like £300 all the way up to, I think 2,500, 3,000. I think it's been the most expensive.
Ooh.
Bruh, I know. And then basically it's a case of like balancing how many things will sell versus what kind of ticket price will people accept, and finding a way of balancing that out. And it always causes me the most stress doing it that way. And so it has affected how I then look at booking seminars myself. Is that I look at the gym zone to say, look, I don't want to cause you stress. So whatever we can do that makes us both happy, I'm happy. Because I've sat too much on this side of the fence before, and I hate it. And I want to go in and do. That's why I show jiu-jitsu, man. That's why I show jiu-jitsu. And it's something that you're gonna have to walk that line soon, sir. Like you're getting out there now, and people are gonna say to you like, "Yo, Naq, how much you charge for a seminar?" And you'll be like, well, "I don't know."
Yeah, I need to work it out. To be fair.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. Welcome to the world. And I guess there's worse problems, but I mean that's the thing. It's like some seminar prices I've heard, like I've never, some I don't want to name and shame anyone really, but some of the numbers I've heard over the years, like entering like the 10,000-15,000 range for a weekend.
Wow.
And I'm like, damn, that is some crazy money that those people are making. Yeah. I think I think an more interesting question wouldn't necessarily be seminars, because those are kind of like, it's pretty easy. I'd say that when it comes to seminars, please think how much you're getting out of that seminar, just due to the fact that are you paying for good information, at which point, fine. Or are you paying for the name of a picture of that person? Which most of the time you kind of are, if it's a famous person. You're not actually getting much in the way of decent details. I mean, that's the question, is how many seminars over the years have you been to that you thought, actually, that was worth the money?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot now. I don't know. Maybe, to be fair, I didn't really go to many seminars. Most of the ones that I went to were at our own gym. But yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, because when Preet came in and started doing his seminars, because it was different to everybody else's, I think they kind of resonated with us a lot, didn't they? But yeah, I like the way Preet, when Preet originally came and the way he did his seminars, they were quite cool, because it was something completely different to what we were used to before. Where it was technique based, very heavy.
Do you remember when I'm not naming any names, but we booked a pretty high level black belt, like pretty well known black belt.
Don't get me started.
I'm not, dude, you know me. I'm not gonna name anyone.
I know.
It's not my way, but paid decent money for a seminar with someone. He or she or he came in, did this seminar, and everyone turned around to me and said, "Please never do that again. Please never book this person again. This is awful, Christopher. You have wasted our money."
Out of curiosity, how much did said person charge? Even like a range, it doesn't have to be exact.
Said person for this seminar. This seminar was about 2 hours long and was about £1,500.
Wow.
So it was a decent seminar to put on. Wasn't cheap by any stretch. That's a pretty decent rate to be paying someone. And he or she or he, was paid well and people turned up, but our students turned around to me and went, "We have got nothing out of this. Please don't." And this was mid-seminar as well. Like, to have people come up to me mid-seminar and go, and like even like during the technique, I was getting glances off people like, "The fuck have you done?"
I was one of them.
Dude, I was like, oh God, I felt bad. And I was like, oh, I know, I try. And yeah, I know. I'm sorry. It made me learn my lesson.
I was like, what is this bullshit?
I know. I was hoping that no one would notice, but everyone noticed. And I was like, I'm sorry.
And that's a prime example of the name, ain't it, really?
Yeah. And most seminars, you might get a detail out of it. It's definitely not worth the money sometimes, especially when some seminars, especially in the US, could be paying hundreds for a seminar. You barely get any details, and it's just for the photo at the end, and it's a bit of a weird market. Like the other more interesting one would be more like camps, where I think camps are an interesting one in that you're trying to pay for the jiu-jitsu is important, absolutely, and that's sort of the names that you have on the ticket will get people through the door. But the more important part is trying to get the experience for people, because some people they're paying good money to travel, they're paying good money for accommodation. You have to create an experience, like get them invested in that way. Like it's a holiday for people are taking a holiday for this, so make it an experience. I think that's what kind of sets Globetrotters apart. Is their experiences compared to like other camps I've been to where they fall apart a little bit.
Interesting.
I mean, I'd be interested in running a camp one day, but I'd lean more heavily on the experience aspect of it. Not as something like obvious, like we're going to go to a beach and stuff, or like go and have a swimming pool. I'd be like, no, let's do something unique. Like Christian has just cornered the market like a motherfucker on that. I mean, I'm at the main camp next week, and it's a summer camp thing in the middle of nowhere. And there's barbecues and there's like paddleboarding, and I'm like, fuck the jiu-jitsu. Yeah, exactly. And that really sells camps. It's not just names. Sometimes it's like create a good experience for people.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Next question. Tips for recovery for older grapplers.
Ooh. I guess the tips for recovery in general are always the same, to like get your vitamins, minerals, water, food right, get your sleep in. But I think with older people, because obviously you can, I'm not saying you're old, but you can probably attest to this more than me right now. Like the recovery, I mean, I'm still okay, but I know I've obviously seen you and seen other guys like Abbas and others as they've aged of how they complain about recovery. And I think it's the testosterone in it. It's the testosterone levels, which there isn't enough proper research going into it. Where I think if you want to carry on training like you already are, and you want to have the recovery as well, I think that you got to make a decision that, at a certain point where you're going to have to partake in some kind of extra secret juice.
Well, that extra secret juice, like especially when you're over the age of 30. I remember having this conversation with some people who are like way more educated than I am, is that the adrenaline and the training over the years can kind of negatively, even if we do not touch the magic secret sauce at all through our like heyday, even when we're a bit, coming into our 30s and stuff, like your testosterone levels can be affected just from the extent of the training. It kind of just burns you out, and I was like, I didn't know that. Again, I'm not saying this because I heard it from a Wikipedia or Joe Rogan. Like, these are people who are educated in the field, like public health and stuff, and I'm like, shit, I didn't know that. And so it's worth, especially like if you're finding your recovery is taking a little bit longer, like get a blood test. Like, there's a good one in the UK, Newman, which is I use. Get your levels checked. Like, are you lower? Because that could be a factor in why it takes you longer to recover. I mean, there's that post by Donald Cerrone when he retired, as he went to TRT, and he was like, oh my God, like I can train like I'm 20 years old again. And he said that's what makes it unfair, is that I'm either older, I find it hard to recover and can't train as much, but I've got experience, or I'm younger and inexperienced. But being on TRT, kind of like, he said, like, look, I'm young again, and I've got experience, and that's not fair.
Yeah, that's a dangerous combination, that is.
Exactly. And that's what, like, the joke of mass TRTers, like the masters divisions. Like, yeah, like it means you can train hard and do those things. And recovery is affected. Like, the main kind of thing you hear when people go on TRT is like all the joints suddenly feel better again for the first time in years. Again, it's you have to do it properly. You have to do it under medical supervision. Go and get a blood test. But a high amount of training and stuff like that, it does affect levels, and that can affect recovery. And it's always going to be harder as you grow older. Pick and choose your rounds. You don't have to go to the death every session. Good gym culture is, like I said, we've got a guy, young man, Greg, who's 71 years old, 72, 73. He recovers. We treat him nice, so he can recover fine. We don't brutalize him.
Yeah, 100%. Man's a G.
Oh yes, he's a gangster. But yeah, we look after him, and that's part of gym culture. Like, your recovery can be directly tied to how people treat you in the gym. If people are dicks, your recovery's going to take way longer. So yeah, have people that are nice to you, or TRT. Like, either way, eat well, sleep well,
Yeah.
or take steroids.
Inject well.
Yeah, maybe that should be a T-shirt. Eat well, sleep well, inject well.
Oh, there we go. First time we'll week to week.
No, I'm making that before I go to sleep.
Just put in the quotation marks where Matt said the quote, like El Jefe.
Yeah, with a little what's them on the bottom about like a hyphen El Jefe.
Yeah.
Quote. Oh, I'm doing a special edition of the In Theory T-shirt with that on the back.
Yeah.
Plenty of sleep, plenty of vitamins, plenty of roids. Oh my god, yeah.
I mean, we're not advocating in any way, shape, or form for you to take steroids, but it's like you can make. I think people can make a sound decision of how much they want to train, and whether they're willing to take the risk of doing that. But I mean, like you said, if it's done safely under supervision, like, it's your body naturally produces it, and obviously when it starts depleting, then you need something to level it off, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a case of plenty of guys are going onto it in their midlife, etc., because it perks you right back up again. And it's offered. Hormone replacement therapy is offered, medically. You can go to a fully licensed physician, get a test, and go on TRT if your levels are low. It's not like it has to be through the back door or anything. I don't mean into your ass. I mean, like...
Only you could fuck it up.
Shut up. I meant, like, doing it legitimately. It doesn't have to be illegitimately. Like, you can get it legitimately. Because you don't know what's in that illegitimate stuff sometimes. Shut up.
You could do it legitimately these days now anyway. Times have changed, Chris.
Times have changed. Well, this is actually the interesting thing, right? So, I mean, I don't have a horse in the race when it comes to the trans debate. That being said, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I have politically no say in this matter. I'm not educated enough, so I will stress that now. But...
You're about to say something, I can tell.
Well, no, as in, testosterone's a hell of a bitch. And so, so I've said this before, like, Jiu-Jitsu it's a power-based game. As in, we try and generate power and negate someone else's power, and that's what we call skill. Sometimes that's not enough. And it's when we're in competition, we sign up with 3 variables in mind. We sign up with our age, our weight, and our gender in mind. Because those 3 things affect your power. Like, if I got a 70-kilo man and a 70-kilo woman, who generates more power? The man.
The male.
Exactly. Just because they've had testosterone, they've got more muscle mass and more bone density. Now, their technique might be the same, but if their power, on that power level alone, gender wins out. Next, age. Like if I've got a 25-year-old 70 kilo person and a 55-year-old 70 kilo person, who's capable of more power? The 25-year-old. That's why we separate by age. And then if I was to get a 75 kilo and a 95 kilo, who generates more power? The 95 kilo. So we try and get as close as damn it in those variables as we can. Like someone within a 5-year age difference of where you're at, because everything falls apart after 30. Someone who is of the same gender, and someone who is like a few kilos off where you're at. So we're trying to focus as much as we can that power. So now it's a measure of skill. And like I say, one of those factors is gender. And, and I've heard women talk about this as well. Like, guys just have more muscle mass and more bone density because you've had testosterone for all your life. And so it's the same with like horses. Like it's depending on when the horse gets cut, like a gelding gets its knackers off, will affect how mental that horse is. Like if they leave it too long, it's had too much testosterone already and it's just fucking crazy for the rest of its life. Yeah, if you cut it nice and early, it doesn't have as much testosterone in its system through its growing years, and it's not as much of an issue. But just that extra couple of years, that extra few months of like allowing that horse testosterone will completely change what that horse is capable of, the size of it. And so as much as you can have like people who are who go through gender reassignment later on, if they've had testosterone in their system for like 20 years, their bodies are just going to be different. Like, you might have low testosterone now. Like, you might go through testosterone blockers and puberty blockers and all those kind of things. But if it's later on in life, you've had those advantages for power, and it's going to affect in a power-based game.
Agreed. Fully agreed. That's what the science says as well.
Yeah, I remember a conversation. It was one of Dan Strauss's podcasts where he had a female trans BJJ athlete, and she was talking about how it's completely her current testosterone levels are so low they could blow a natural woman's testosterone levels. I'm like, yeah, cool, that's good. Like, I'm happy for their gender reassignment completely, but at the same time, like, when did you start to go through reassignment? Because if you've had like 15, 20 years of like male growth, it's going to be a defining factor here. Like, you're still going to have that build up. And, it's the same as when people go into TRT, as in, they still had good amount of testosterone in their system. They go into TRT, they cycle onto it, and they feel all that kind of extra strength and everything. Then when they come off the cycle, it drops a little bit, like their muscle mass and their recovery, etc. But they might have low testosterone, but they've still got muscle mass and they've still got bone density and they've still got more power than they should. Otherwise, what's the point in doing it? So yeah, it's and it's a very hot debate, and like I said, I'm not entering any sort of political yeses or nos here, just scientifically, like in other animals, I say it's a big factor when they get cut, is completely changes how their bodies operate for the rest of their lives. Anyway, enough of that one. What dynamics do you factor into belt gradings?
Oh, this is still the topic in discussion at the moment, where we're trying to decide how we promote these people.
It was interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, with this new way of training and how we've not took out, but bringing things in later on rather than early on, and I think what the recent promotions that we did kind of made sense. They were doing the right things and they were doing well across competition as well. So, I think I don't think we use the old criteria all much now, do we?
No.
It'll be interesting when we've got to really start doing purple belts now and browns.
I think that's the thing, as in all the old criteria is kind of falling apart. We had that discussion recently, like someone has connected to us has talked about a syllabus. Like, it completely, like, how we train has redefined entirely what I consider to be fundamentals and advanced techniques. Like, I don't think there's anything out there necessarily that's advanced. Like, fundamentals is your concepts, and in the syllabus it's like, oh no, you have to know 3 slide control escapes and 3 sweeps and 4 armbar setups. I'm like, I don't want that for a white belt and a blue belt. I want you to have infinite of those things, because I want you to understand what makes them exist in the first place. If you can understand that, you can invent them. And so, like, it's, I think through our experience, I think especially like because I've traveled so much and you're getting up there now, I think once you've felt so many people at that level, at those levels, like I felt God knows how many blue belts, I felt God knows how many purple belts and brown belts. You just kind of know the rough feeling of each belt, like their kind of danger levels. And then, you know, factoring in power differentials like age, weight, gender, you know, it's something that, again, like you have to kind of do as a skilled coach, and then just feel that person's skill level and the depth of their understanding of jiu-jitsu. That's kind of how I've started to grade people.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's not like, yeah, you gotta. I agree with you, man. It's hard. It's a topic that I think it makes it more personal as well now. Like, everybody's doing, even though the fundamentals and the concepts are the same, everybody develops their own game now early on rather than waiting till like purple belt. I think I've noticed that as well. Like a couple of the guys who we've just promoted as well, they're already establishing the game of their own. And it's not like where it was a blue belt, you just get all your weapons and then you just, you know, you kind of figure your game out of purple. So I think, which is also a good thing because they're progressing faster, which, you know, it shows they are.
I think the scary thing is like, there's a few, like, I was rolling with one of our white belts the other day. He came to me and said, I want to work on my cardio for an hour. And I was like, oh, okay. And I spent the first 10 minutes with this person on top of me, and I could not get rid of them. They were like a fart in an elevator. Like, they just wouldn't. They were everywhere all at once. And I was like, why am I being held down by a white belt? I couldn't get out. I could not get rid of them. Eventually, I found a little slip up and I found my way out again. I then spent the next 40 minutes just smashing this person into the ground. Just like, I am not, but I had to dig deep and hold them down, and I had to like burn them out from their cardio.
Was this a private?
Yeah. Like, they came to me asking this. I was like,
know.
I'm going to have to cook you. I'm going to have to cook you to slow you the fuck down, because you're doing so many of the right things and you're younger and you've got this power level. I'm finding this hard, so I'm going to cook you. And then think, like, I have to sit there afterwards, like, you know, kind of like in shell shock, like, that's a white belt. Oh, we've, you know, there's one of our guys who've just recently put up to blue belt. Me and you know, we had a round robin with this individual, and I was broken the following day. Like, remember, I think it was a Friday night. It was me, you, and them, and I went home, and I think I even went home. I think I sat in the car for a period of time, just like, the fuck just happened? Like, why do I feel so sore? And it's not just Naqi. Like, I wasn't having a rest round.
Yeah, fuck you know.
Exactly.
It's tough nowadays.
Exactly, and that's kind of like worries me then. It's like, so what do we put as the criteria? I think it's that depth of conceptual understanding, I think, becomes the defining criteria, because we're having these monsters at white belt, and they just those words, like, I feel embarrassed saying it out loud. Like, I'm a black belt who is getting mauled by white belts. I should be able to Jedi kill these people.
Yeah, it's fucked.
How does that make any sense? And even most of our blue belts, we have to, even me and you have to dig deep to give them a bit of a kick in.
Yeah. I told you I have to change gears now quickly.
And then, and why? Well, how does that make any sense? We're trying to like, you know, give them a good role. Not obviously smash the life out of them, but we kind of have to look out to save ourselves because they're coming at us with heat.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. I think the dynamics on that has changed entirely. And so, yeah, I think we have to take into consideration power variables. I think you have to consider consideration that conceptual understanding, because the deeper that conceptual understanding is, the more they can just interpret and invent technique themselves and do the right thing.
Yeah, agreed.
In a similar vein, and this is pretty much entirely for you, this question, how to make your opponent, not yourself, tired, please, aside from just stay on top.
Stay on top. I mean, you can tie people up from the bottom as well. You just got to keep them moving. Oh fuck! It's one of them questions which would take me ages to answer, man. Because it's very broad, isn't it?
I've
It's a
got a
broad
nice.
question.
I had this similar conversation in a private today, and I
Okay.
came up. We had a really great analogy by the end of it, and I was like, "Damn, I'm keeping that."
Go on, man. Go on.
So again, like we talked about this idea of its jiu-jitsu is maximizing your power whilst minimizing someone else's, and that's what we consider jiu-jitsu skill. Like, how do you maximize your own and fuck up theirs? And that's what we consider skill levels in jiu-jitsu. That's our ability to do that, and our ability to generate power. Like, so, for example, okay, there's two ways of doing it. Either, well, you have to have your own, like, you've got your own engine, like your own body that generates power, but you also have a connection to the battery. And by that, I mean it's your connection to the ground. Like, so say if I got the world's strongest man, someone who can pull a fucking plane, and I asked that world's strongest man, push a car for me. That world's strongest man can push a car. But what if how do I stop that world's strongest man pushing a car without affecting the car or the man? I put them on ice. Like, I could get someone who could literally throw a car away or rip a car in half. But if I put that person on ice, they can't push that car. Doesn't matter how strong they are. They ain't pushing shit because they'll just slide away.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's why I consider, like, there's two factors here. So you've got your own body and your own posture to generate power. And it's the efficiency of your engine, the efficiency of your body's ability to generate power. So that's like making sure your spine is aligned. Like, imagine you're lifting weights in the gym and you want to make sure you're maximizing your lifts. Like, you always make sure your body is positioned properly to generate that power. And so that's a, you have the engine involved here. And the second is your connection to the ground. Like, if your connection to the battery, where the power's coming from, is fucked or isn't as good a connection as it can be. Doesn't matter how much power you can generate. If the battery connection's poor, it ain't generating as much power. I could have the world's strongest man, put him on ice, he ain't pushing no car. And so the way I kind of looked at it is, like, when we talk about this whole idea of, like, previously in this conversation of power variables when it comes to competition, and that's why we control for power, so we can measure skill. And that's like, imagine that you drive like small mini cars, like Mini Coopers, and you're a Mini Cooper driver, and of a weekend you go to a track meet against other Mini Coopers, and you're driving the same car or thereabouts, and now you're completely measuring on skill. Who's the better driver today? Because you're all in the same car. But then in the week, you go back to your home track and you're still in your Mini Cooper, but now some fucker's in a McLaren. Like, and then you have people bitching, like, yeah, but I'm really good at jiu-jitsu, but this McLaren keeps on taking over me and he's not as good as driver. Yeah, but the motherfucker's in a McLaren. Like, of course he's going to overtake you. So, if we can't beat this person legitimately, how do we jiu-jitsu them? Well, we pour shit into their engine and slash their tyres. That's the jiu-jitsu way. Which is what we do. We want to fuck up someone's engine, their posture, so they can't generate as much power. So we take a shit in their engine, and we slash their tires. Like, they can't connect to the ground as much. They can't. All that power is going nowhere. Like, even Formula One cars, you put them on shit tires, they don't go as fast.
Yeah, makes sense.
Exactly, and that's like people say, "Oh, should you wear socks in training?" You tell me if you want to have a shit connection to the ground. Like, people say, "Oh, should I have seal feet or on my toes?" I don't give a fuck. What makes the most sense right now to generate power? Do you see me pushing some shit whilst on my knees and in socks? No. I want to have a good digging into the ground of my toes, and I'm going to push like a motherfucker. Exactly. Why do we wear wrestling boots? Generates more power. Oh my god. It's a better connection to the battery, and our jiu-jitsu goal, reason why we put people on their ass in the first place, is because they can't generate as much power, and then we break their posture to then fuck up their engine as well. And it then makes you ask the question, how often do you slash your own tyres and mess up your connection to the ground and shit in your own engine and try and fight with bad posture? I'd say 75% of the time, that's what's happening. It's not the other person, like slashing your tyres and shitting in your engine. It's yourself.
Self-reflection.
Exactly. Reflect. Like, is your posture good? Because if it isn't, you took a shit in your own engine. If you're in socks or fighting from your knees, guess what? You slashed your own tyres. And now you're complaining that driving is difficult. Well, stop sabotaging your own car, idiot. Motherfucker. I like that as well. I like that idea that, and then let's say people bitch, like, you know, you drive around at the weekend in the Mini Cooper Cup, and then you bitch over a weekday because there's McLarens that are beating you on the race. Like, yeah, better engine, and they've got wrestling boots on. They've got a better connection to the ground. Wonder why they win. Oh my god, jiu-jitsu people suck, man. This is definitely for you because I have zero experience here, dude.
Okay.
Best stand-up strategy for a bouncer to control a drunk.
Well, you should always, when you're dealing with any kind of fucking customer, you should always have your hands up, like not to fight, but in a like palm facing them kind of way, because this is a camera trick as well. So, like, because most cameras, especially on doors and that, they don't have audio. So as long as you were looking like in the camera that you're actually de-escalating a situation with your body posture and stance, like, you can get away with shit if it ever goes to court, you know what I mean? Obviously, you can make of that what you will, but like, as long as your hands are facing them and you're not like reached out, because you still got to have a kind of a guard, and it's always like a combat posture where you're not bloody standing, you know, with feet in the same line, 1 foot forward, you know what I mean? Because like, when you're dealing with a drunk person, they're unpredictable. That's one, and number two, most of them are coked up anyway, so they're even more unpredictable, and they will take risks as well because they're reckless at that point. So you got to be ready for anything. So yeah, you can't take chances, man. You can't stand like you know. You got to be alert. You can't stand flat-footed. You got to be ready. You got to be ready with your hands up. And that's like basic training. They give you that anyway. And then when you do the course, even though they don't know much what they're talking about, the guys who give you the self-defense classes, it's a load of bollocks, most of it is. But when it comes to like body language and stuff, they kind of know what they're talking about.
I did think that wasn't really my remit. Yeah, I think the only advice I could ever give, and it's like fighting beginner white belts, or anyone for that matter, get behind them. Like, weapons only face forwards.
Oh yeah, when it goes off, like, it's not. Like, I think I've said this before. It is not hard to get to the side or behind the untrained people, man. It is not hard at all.
Exactly, like an arm drag. arm drag them and get behind them, a tie up, push your arm out the way.
Simple elbow pass, man. Like, it's not even that hard.
Yeah.
It's like they got no control over their bodies, man.
Well, that's like, I think, it's one of the reasons why I always make sure to roll with day one beginners and people like that, is it, they move in mysterious ways, and getting that practice of sitting behind their elbows, sitting behind them and staying safe, and no matter how crazy they get, like, you can't hurt me. Like, no matter how much you flail around. Like, the mistake people make when they fight beginners is they sit in front of them, and then they get hit in the face by accident because they've got limbs going everywhere. Sit behind them, you'll be fine. Exactly. They can't hurt you if you're behind them. A couple more questions. Takedowns that can be pins and submissions, do they exist? Yes, I showed one today. It is grotesque. It is the rolling cradle from like a half head and arm choke.
Oh, nasty.
Oh, you know the one. Yeah. I showed that. I showed that to the big man earlier, who comes on Sundays every now and then.
Oh yeah, shit, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, did you tell him, or did you ask him why he hasn't been coming down for the last few Sundays?
I have.
Since he got his gold medal role models.
Yeah, well, he listens to this, so you know who you are. Naqi's calling you out. But I did show him earlier the rolling cradle, and I was like, "What have I done?"
Wrong person, man.
Man, with those arms, like, yeah, someone's going to get ripped in half. And part of me is hopeful for that. Like, I'm like, this is going to be funny. Yeah. So, but I think as well at the same time, like, yeah, I think we need to record that because that literally answers this question. At the same time, I think it has to be reiterated again. Like, guillotines, jumping onto your back from standing with a guillotine, don't do it. Just don't do it. You're not Poirier. He can't even do it either. But there's so much chance you can snap a person's neck, like, and really hurt them. It's not worth it. Just don't do it. It scares the life out of me.
Yeah, dangerous shit, man.
Last question. Oh, Naq. Oh.
Go on.
Oh. Do you promise not to get mad?
Yeah. It can't be that bad.
Really? Okay.
I'm in a good mood.
All right. Remember you said that. Please.
Okay.
How to study leg locks ecologically beyond just staying connected to the hip and knee. Naq, you promised.
I'm just laughing, that's all.
Naq. I said be nice.
This is funny. I am nice. I've had enough of this debate, I'll be honest with you. I think just go learn whatever way you know how to learn jiu-jitsu.
I think you're correct. I think it's trying to shoehorn something in sometimes when it doesn't need shoehorning. And the mental gymnastics I'm hearing from people doing this, I'm like, open your toolbox.
I'm at the point where I'm thinking now, what's the next jiu-jitsu buzzword or the trend going to be now? I'm already thinking, like, what's it going to be?
It's like the amount of... I listen to all of it and I'm just like, okay, cool. People have found a hammer. Not everything's a nail. And we're trying to just hit everything. Like, this looks like a nail too. It's not. It's a screw. If you hit it hard enough, I'm sure it'd be like a nail. Like, or we could get a screwdriver. Like, there's other tools. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't have to try and force this. If I'm teaching certain aspects like control, ecological works. Like, I like people to be able to play a game and figure out this plan. But certain things where, we're talking about fine details and physiological details, you have to go deep and concept based and go, right, you know what? This is what you're wrecking in this joint. You wouldn't have known that otherwise. Like, so we have to then talk about the fine details of how we're going to do this, because it's been looked into. Certain things require different tools, and the gripping onto the hip and stuff. Yeah, okay, fine, that's a nail, but the actual depth in the technique of how to wreck the individual ligaments, screw. It's a screw. Put your hammer away. Don't even try. Like, stop trying to jump around and think, well, if I just attack it this way, if I swing the hammer around in circles, maybe it'll screw it at the same time. Like, no. Just grab a fucking screwdriver. Stop being silly. What if I... So, no. To my knowledge, there may be, but at certain points, you just have to admit, it doesn't make any sense to force this narrative. Let's just do the right thing. But at the same time, I'm like, there's other things, like I say, like, dry drilling and detail-orientated shit in those controls aren't right either. At which point, I'm like, well, that's a nail right there. You ain't going to do shit with a screwdriver. Like, you might.
Yep.
But let's choose a different tool, eh? Let's look at something else. And sometimes you don't have either. You don't have a screw or a nail. You need a hinge to tie two things together. Let's go get some hinges. Sometimes there's no even no holes to put anything in. You need to glue it down. I'm going too deep in the analogy, but you get the
it's
idea.
true though. Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes you got to look at your group of that you're training that day, and you're like, they've all got a similar problem, or this is the problem that I need to fix, and this is what I'm going to try and use to tackle it today. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you try and find another way to make it work until they actually get it.
Well, this is a sign of a good craftsman. Like, you choose the right tool for the job. Like, you don't just try and make every tool work for every job. You go, or a single tool work for every job. You go, actually, you know what? This isn't the right tool right now. I'm going to choose the exact tool for this job. And yeah, that's a sign of a good craftsman. It's knowing all the tools that you have available and knowing which one to choose for that job. I bring it up a lot, my old career as a firefighter, but that thing was just a giant toolbox. And you get to a job, and it was a case of you look at the job, and it might be something you haven't really come across before, but you have a giant toolbox, and your craft was choosing the right tool to do that job.
Makes sense.
Exactly. It's fire engine's just a toolbox, and then it's up to the good firecraft to go, right, you know what, that there, it would make sense if we use that, but in fact, we probably won't use that. We're going to use this instead. That'd probably do the job better. I could force my way and use the other one, but I'd probably make a fucking mess of it. Or I can do a more finesse job with this tool. Let's see what happens. And that's fine. That's okay. That's what good craft is. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but it's... Yeah. So I had to study leg locks ecologically. Don't. Simple enough. Don't. Apart from the connect to the hip and the knee, don't. Like if it's the finishing details, no. You ain't gonna figure out physiological things about someone's body through games. Sorry.
It's all right.
That requires a bit more finesse. I think it's all. We're not here next week, are we? Because we're both away.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to, because I'm at camp. I will try and put. Are you still in Amsterdam at that point?
No.
You'll be in Switzerland.
Yeah.
I'll see what my internet connection is like when I'm away, and see if we can do RTW on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be a wild 7-hour time difference.
Yeah.
Or something, but we'll try our best.
Yeah.
I'm I'll do my best. If the internet, it's in the middle of nowhere, so the internet connection can be a bit spotty. But I'll do what I can, and let's. There will be a podcast next week, people. We won't let you down. Get those questions ready, and we'll have some tales from the road, I'm sure. Good night, sir.
Good night. Good night.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in again.
Thank you. See you later.